Hi, I'm Joni with Looking at Careers with Joni, and I'm here today with John, who has a real interesting life and has changed careers, and I think he's done some great things. So, John, you started your career in culinary school, but you actually started enjoying the culinary things when you were in high school. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so um, I started off looking for a job that kind of work around my high school schedule. I was in football, so I found a local pizza place that would let me have Friday nights off. So kind of just started off like that. Who knew, that
Yeah.
one decision would make so many different things, because that got me into food, and I started a year later working at a restaurant, as a dishwasher when I was in high school, and then up, through the ranks, started making salads and sandwiches, and then, a line cook, et cetera, et cetera. So my senior year, I started kind of, thinking about what I wanted to do. And I don't know, I just always, I enjoyed cooking. I'm like, why not? It was one of those types of things. So
Yeah.
I went to a job festival or something. I can't remember what they called them back in the day, but
Yeah.
back at I think it was at downtown at one of the hotels, and they just had a bunch of different,
A, a job
colleges.
fair. Yeah.
Actually, it was college. It was a college fair, and so I
Okay, cool.
gravitated towards the couple colleges that were cooking, and I'm like, you know what, Rhode Island, that sounds exotic. So ended up going to culinary school.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you went to school. How long was school?
It was a 2 or 4 year program. I went 2.5 years.
Okay.
So I got my associate's degree, started my third year. And it was just like I started looking at the balance, of how much it was costing me to be in school and the job that I could get currently. So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to take I had a couple job opportunities back home. And so I started working as a sous chef at a country club.
Nice. Okay.
And
And
I
where did
kind of
that
didn't look
take you?
back from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that took me to, so I worked there for a few years, and then I worked at a local restaurant in Chagrin Falls for a few years. And well, actually a couple years, I guess. And then my high school sweetheart was in DC, and um, we weren't dating at the time or anything, but she came back for a wedding or something. So I was her date for the wedding, and
Uh-huh.
we got to talking. And before I knew it, we decided that I would check out DC. So I went there,
Wow.
and ended up working. Then I really loved the restaurant scene there, and
Yeah.
so I spent 9 years just working, again, same type of thing. In the restaurant industry, you kind of work your way up the ranks. You always, I didn't start a dishwasher or anything, but I was a sous chef, and a kitchen manager, and then executive chef, and
Uh-huh.
then project manager at one of the larger restaurant groups called Great American Restaurants. I worked there for, like I said, I guess the last 7 years I was in DC.
Nice. And I always think that being a chef in a restaurant looks like a lot of fun, but you're working when everybody else is out having fun.
Yep. I did learn that. That's not something that I thought about. And all of a sudden, I spent basically my 20s and 30s, every weekend.
Yeah.
I got married on a Saturday, and I was back to work on Monday. So,
Wow.
um,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what happens.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I was able to get off a whole weekend.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And then you started up your own restaurant.
Yeah, I worked for another restaurant group, but I opened up a French bistro called Bon Vie in Columbus, and I ran that just for a couple of years. And that's where I just started. I remember, we're going to be talking about kind of a change in mind shift and mindset, I guess. And at that point, I was just working a lot of hours. My wife was working a lot of hours, And I started kind of even, I'd get home at 2 in the morning and kind of see these real estate seminars and stuff, and uh, infomercials and stuff. And I started kind of like getting the idea. It took me too long, to move forward and do anything to take that leap. But that's kind of where the seeds of that idea started. I was like, oh wow, that you can make some money here. You see these guys driving these fast
I think
cars,
we've
and
all been up late
you
and
know,
seen those
yeah.
infomercials. Yeah,
So,
that's funny.
anyhow, yeah, my wife was working so many hours. I was working so many hours that I took a step back, and still was in the culinary field and everything, and started working at a retirement community. And same type of thing, worked my way through the ranks there. I was an executive chef at a retirement community to a regional chef. And then
Hmm.
from there, I turned into a director, and then a general manager, and then a district manager. And so that was basically my last 20 years working for a great company. And it was just a kind of an interesting, twist, I
Yeah.
guess.
And just out of curiosity, so when you're doing that for these retirement communities, you're planning all the menus,
Hmm.
but as district manager, you must be selling.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So that was, so as a district manager, one of my jobs there was to obviously network and to see if we can pick up other communities. And one of the big things that obviously you have to offer is labor, food, great food, be able to have the labor to do the food, and then to be able to run it, efficiently. And then the biggest thing in these communities is it's state regulated. And
Oh,
so because of that, you're inspected so often and so rigorously that you have to make sure that you have everything completed properly. Obviously it makes sense, you want to make sure that
sure.
your loved ones are being taken care of and everything. But
Yeah.
it was definitely part of the job to get that done. And then that was one of the sales techniques as well, was just here's our track record, here's what we can do, here's what we
Hmm.
feel like we can do for you, type of thing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I mean, from the outside, none of us really think about what goes into all of these
Yeah,
kinds of
absolutely.
jobs. So you reached a point where you've decided you had enough of working in the culinary industry. How'd you get there?
Yeah. I don't know if it, like I said, it was always in the back of my mind, like I'm going to get out of this industry and move to something. Don't know what that looks like. Real estate was, like I said, kind of always kind of sitting there, like, boy, that's got to be, but I didn't know anything about real estate. I could have, just like going into I could have went into Wall Street and said I want to be a broker. I wouldn't have known anything there either.
Sure.
So it was like I
Yeah.
need to be able to learn it. And so I didn't know, but it was just the amount of work. And my parents always just taught me, you work, to get things done. My work ethic was so strong and always involved with that. And I always thought that that's what you did. You had to out hustle or outwork everyone. And hustle was kind of
Right.
a bad word, actually. Hustle was
Well,
something that somebody did, that was a scam. It was always,
yeah. Yeah.
doing something like that was not you just taught to put your head down and work. Well, unfortunately, that mindset really can kind of get you into a rut where that's all you're doing is you're not really seeing that entrepreneur type of mindset. You're really making money for somebody else.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that per se. It was just that I was like, you know what, I think I can do something that's not just this. And so I was working in retirement communities, of course, and don't know where I got it exactly, but I picked up COVID. I was one of the early onsets COVID, and this was in April of 2020.
Hmm.
And certainly we had heard of COVID then, but it really didn't. It was like October. It
Right.
was supposed to be. We heard about it in China, and it really wasn't coming around until right around, was that St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
That's when everyone was like, we shut down and everything. Well, I
That's
got
right.
it right after St. Patrick's Day, end of March. and I was in a hospital for quite a long time. And kind of during that time, I was like, okay, I'm going to set something in motion to actually, to do something.
Right.
I had known that my wife and I had moved by that time into a smaller home, kind of anticipating real estate as an option even earlier than that. But that was the point that I was like, I'm definitely moving forward. So for the next year, it was all just save every penny, because I wanted to have a startup ramp, to be able to have a living expenses without having to worry about, because I realized I wasn't strong
It's
enough myself.
important.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
strong enough myself to work many hours and then get off work. And some people can do it. I just couldn't get off
Yeah.
work and be motivated to do anything that would get them out of that cycle. I
Sure.
knew that I had to just take the leap blindly with enough resources to be able to do that. And so, I mean, to each their own. It was like, I get it, because I was like, man, if I could just come home, and if I just came home and it was like, I'm watching reruns of all the shows I never watched back when I was in my 20s and 30s, because I was at
Right.
work. And so
That's funny.
it
Yeah.
just was not one of those things that worked out for me. So for me, I realized, okay, I'm going to save. And so my wife and I saved. We had sold a house that we had actually bought on foreclosure, a larger home. And so we had a small nest egg there. And then we moved into one of her house that she had, we didn't sell it when we got engaged. Instead, we rented it. So kind of always had some real estate experience with buying and selling our own personal homes.
Mhm.
And it just kind of grew from there. So once I was out of the hospital, I just started putting all of and thank gosh, no after effects and
Yeah, I wondered.
no bills.
Well, that's
It
good.
was like I didn't get, other than the oxygen, for whatever reason they charged me for the home oxygen. I
Oh,
didn't have any of the bills.
well, that's good.
Um, but yeah, so during that next year, it was what, April, I said, and it was May of the following year that April the following year that I gave notice, and my last day was May 15th.
And how did you start to learn about the real estate industry to start doing this kind of
Yeah,
work?
so I knew it was going to be real estate related that I wanted to do. I knew now we have a little bit of a nest egg, or savings that we could kind of see what we're going to do. I never knew how to go about it. And I certainly didn't want to just throw everything into one house, and then it's like
Right.
either we make it or we don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I started just kind of YouTube University, and seeing the different things
That's
out there,
great.
and there's all kinds of them. And unfortunately, that's a huge, you can just go crazy with too many things.
Sure.
So then I started looking on Indeed and all the Monster and all of the different, and searching real estate positions.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went to, as far as, I signed up and took almost all the course to get my real estate license to be a realtor. I'm like, okay, well, why don't I just start off I knew that you needed a license for certain things. You didn't need a license for others. You shouldn't have a license for certain things.
Yeah.
And during that time, I also was applying for um, jobs that were basically acquisition. I saw that acquisitions was out there, and also that was what I like. Yeah, that's my weakest area, right? I don't know what I need to learn how to acquire, or how to go about talking to sellers or potential sellers, and
Right.
I knew that if I could break that code, then the rest I could eventually get. I was always decent with the technical aspect, websites and or what's called CRMs, database systems and those type of things,
Mm-hmm.
and budgets and all of that, just throughout my career.
Yeah.
And so I never really had to talk to that many people when it came to, as a sales.
Sure.
So I used the sales portion that I did have on my resume, and did a couple interviews. I think it was like 3 or 4. And it's funny because the one that went well, I never heard back from. The one that I was like, oh gosh, I don't think I really did very well there, I got the call back. And
Interviews are always like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I took that position and kind of haven't looked back since. we went about 6 months or so, and I was working for him just as a 1099 employee, getting
Mm-hmm.
commission based on the houses that we acquired and and sold. And
Mm-hmm.
I had enough experience then, and I basically had a conversation with my partner, or he was the person I was working with. I guess he wasn't my partner at that time. And I was like, okay, well, I thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to give you another 6 months because it's just fair. I want to continue working with you and partnering in some capacity. But now that I know all of this, and I'd like to kind of take and I talked to him in a way that was like, what are some steps that we could do? Could we partner together? Could we just split, and then we could, if we happen to come across, the same type of, deals, we could partner with each other on certain deals and not on others. So we had a long conversation about how that would go. And then eventually now we are, 50/50 partners, owners of the company. And
Oh,
we
nice.
did, I think, 33 deals from April of last year to January of this year.
That's great. So what you do is you buy these homes, foreclosures or at low prices,
Hmm.
and you fix them up and then you
Hmm.
resell them.
You got it.
So how do you do you have um, relationships with different contractors to fix
Yeah,
them up,
that's
or are
actually the
you in there?
hardest thing, just to learn networking. Is certainly, you go to a real estate uh, investor networking group, meeting, and
Mm-hmm.
you would hear lots of cool stuff, and you could meet different people. And I did. And I saw some title companies and some escrow officers that I was able to partner with, and they work with us now, realtors and all of those things. But one of the things that everyone kept close to their vest was the best contractors, because
Uh,
they're so hard to find. And so
sure.
you stand up at a meeting, one of those, and say, anyone have a good contractor? Everyone kind of looks at you like, come on, guy, that ain't going to happen. Um, so we actually just recently, we went through different contractors, through our realtors, and we still do. But just recently we hired a project manager, and he's got all of the contacts, and he deals with a bunch of the contractors and subcontractors, and he knows them all. So we're hoping that this is going to be a win-win
Oh,
situation.
interesting. You know what's interesting about that to me is in this industry, there are so many different kinds of jobs that people could go into that isn't just going and finding the house and buying it
Oh my
and
gosh, tons. We're in a mentorship program. It's called Subject to Sub Two.
uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Pace Morby. I mean, anyone out there in the real estate industry, look up Pace Morby. He's a legend. And
Oh, okay.
he he he's just done another he does he does so much as far as webinars, that he's training everyone and everything. And it's a
Oh,
lifetime thing, so you purchase this
sure.
thing once, and it's for life. And it's really about the community, and so just the networking there. But one of his courses, not courses, because it's not yet, you can just attend it
Watch.
anytime you want,
Yeah.
if you want, and that type of thing. But he's got avatars, and it's like,
Oh.
who are you? What are you? Identify yourself. Are you a closer? Do
Oh.
you like to talk to, what are you a networker? Are you a connector? Are you a private money type of person? Do you not want to actually do anything there, but you want to lend money? Do you want to? So, and there's like so many different options that you could kind of like learn about yourself and say, this is what I want to do. And if that's the case, then choose. So he's kind of like, choose one of these, get good at it, and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what, isn't it true for anything? I mean, find out
Yeah,
what you like and move on.
yeah. Yeah, and it's so funny because, we look at people who buy and flip homes and what a great thing, but you don't realize how many other people have jobs that go into that. And,
Oh
and for
yeah.
people looking to make a change, there's a lot to look at. It's not just looking at the thing that slaps you in the face, not
Yeah.
the most familiar. So
Right. Yeah.
good
You
to
don't
know.
see most of it.
Yeah,
And in fact, the guy who's actually putting up the tile, the last four pieces of tile or whatever, he's probably not the guy who put up all of the rest of the tile, or the
that's
guy who,
true.
like you said, helped us acquire the house or
Yeah,
sold the house, or, and all the
yeah,
different things that go on in the background.
yeah. I always said if when I went to college, I would have known all the different kinds of opportunities there were in the world. I probably never would have studied and gone into the things that I went into. But even when you get out of school, you don't know all the different opportunities there are.
Yeah, I
So
know. I mean,
that's kind of one of my goals here to
yeah,
let
I
people
went to
see
a
that.
small high school too, so that was, I wish that, and no
I
knock
did
on the
too,
high school,
actually.
but I wish that it would have, the guidance counselor would have kind of, or we had a better, system of kind of showing you what is out there and how to. Now I'm sure with the internet, because again, when I went to school in the 80s, um, they would have that. Now they're sure they have a lot of other things that could show you what's out there and what you could
Yeah.
do. And not to say that we didn't know, but it was,
Yeah.
I started cooking when I was 15. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to cook, that type of
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to me. Yeah, I have met friends over the years in so many different industries. It's like, how
I
did
can
you even
imagine.
know? So it's interesting. Well, great. Any advice you have? Sorry, my earpieces keep popping out. Any advice you have to people that are looking to make a change in their life?
Oh, for me, I mean, I'm going to sound cliche, but obviously find something that you do enjoy.
Yeah,
Um, and then also some of the things that you don't enjoy, but you still need to learn it and then know how to do it and then move on from it.
yeah,
Because I don't love talking to people as far as selling, like,
sure.
but I made myself do it. I said, I'm going to make 1,000 phone calls and talk to 1,000 people before I make my decision of whether or not I can be good at this. Because I need to know
Wow.
everything that when I train somebody to do it, I need to know how to do it. Now, before every call, I'm nervous.
Yeah,
I get butterflies and okay, I got to negotiate with this person. I just got a text saying, somebody because I got to talk to this person now because, and so I'll be nervous about it and that's okay.
yeah,
But I'm making myself do it. And then I'm not even quite to the 1,000 calls and I still was able to move on from there. So I didn't get my goal, but it was, I wanted to, um, so for me, the advice would be, obviously if you just can't do it and it's not something you enjoy at all, don't. But
right.
if it's part of your career choice or part of what you're looking for, you still got to kind of know, a little bit about whatever it is that you're going to be doing. So
Right.
learn it as best you can. And then, I guess for me the other thing was just do it earlier.
Yeah.
I'm sure that everyone says it's kind of the same type of thing. I wish I would have done it earlier. So it took
Yeah.
me 20 years to kind of, and I had, I had a good, those 20 years weren't miserable or anything.
Right.
It was just always in the back of my head though, that there was like, oh, I want to do this instead. So, I
Yeah.
mean, there are born entrepreneurs, I guess, that just,
Yeah.
they've never had a job in their life as far as, working for somebody else. They've always figured it out the other way.
Right.
I was just taught that that's not, you always start from,
Me too.
if you notice my career path was start from the bottom and work your way up.
Yep. Yep. I kind of did the same. And, you know, I can't even think this through right now. But I worked for other companies for a long time too before I decided to go off on my own.
Yeah,
But I always said I wouldn't have been successful if the time wasn't right. So I think that when we actually do make the move, it's really the right time.
yeah,
And,
yeah. You
and,
can't go through
and
life just thinking if I should have and I could have and have
yeah,
too many regrets. But
exactly. Yeah, that's kind of my life saying. So, true or not, that's how I like to convince myself.
right.
Well, John, if is there anything we can do for you? Do you want to promote the name of your company or
Oh,
tell
sure.
people how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's keysolvers.com, key
K
solvers
E
group,
Y.
KEY, yep,
Mm-hmm.
solvers. And So yeah, obviously we buy and sell all over Ohio. We'd love to do some Airbnbs elsewhere as well. We're looking at Tennessee right now in the mountains and those types
Oh,
of things.
fun. Mm-hmm.
But for me, my thing would be if you reach me on Facebook or on our website or whatever, um, how can I help you is also kind of, because it's like we're not just looking just to buy and sell a house. We're looking to partner up and network and grow as well. So if there's something that I can teach somebody else, because I always thought that was something that I was missing was like
Right.
how do I do this without being handheld, but at the same time, for me, a perfect scenario would be to be a fly on the wall in somebody's office as they're actually doing it, because it's like I
Sure.
want to kind of see it. Just because you say that okay, so what you need, the worst seminars to go to are the ones where like the guy's like standing up there is like, so what you need to do, right, is like you
Yeah.
need to buy a house like for really cheap, like, and then you need to like, you know, fix it up and then
Yeah.
like sell it for like a lot. And if you do
Yeah.
that a whole bunch of times, you're going to be so rich, dude. And it's like, how do I buy the house
Yeah.
for super cheap? How do I put the money in? Who do I,
Exactly.
and they never actually tell you because they don't do it themselves. So,
Right.
so that'd be
Oh,
my other
good
piece of
advice.
advice. Take your advice from somebody who's doing it.
Yeah. So if you want a mentor or you want to learn more about the industry, contact John Smith at keysolvers.com.
Yep.
And John, good luck to you. You know how to find me. Contact me if you need me for anything.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. And thanks for talking to us. And let's see.
Not a
Good
problem.
luck.